welcome back to Common Farm, and welcome if you're new to the channel. We hit 10,000 subscribers, so that's really exciting. Thank you very much. A year and a bit of slaving away at the coalface of YouTube is paying off. So thank you very much for all you subscribers, and welcome to the newbies. If you're new to the channel, please press the subscribe button and also the red bell icon, and we'll let you know when we've got more clips coming out. And if any of the tips and tricks I give you as we go along are useful, you can always buy me a coffee. The link to coffee buying is in the blurb to all my clips. Right, enough. Why are we here today? Well, I thought we'd do a little trip round the garden this September time, and I'll show you what we've got going on. The season is slowly drawing to a close. For those of you who don't know, I'm a flower farmer. I'm an artisan flower farmer, so I'm not a big commercial business. I'm not producing 7 million gladioli for the supermarkets. I am what they call a farmer florist, so I grow limited quantities of very, very high-end flowers. I do a small amount of wholesale for my local studio florists, that, you know, very smart luxury flower users, for the smart weddings and smart events kind of market. And I have a really nice collection of lovely clients who like my flowers delivered to them frequently. And I teach a lot, so we have workshops here at the farm. I do lots of online demos, and so I have a garden from which I plan to cut about 250,000 stems a year. About 3/4 of them, it's ballparking, between the 1st of April and the end of September. So we are the 5th of September. This month we have a wedding this weekend, postponed for 3 years. So we've got garlanding and all sorts of stuff to do for that. We have then 2 events next weekend, a party and another wedding. The following week, my brain is frying. We have done more things, including a Dahlia day here, so people come and have fun learning about how to grow and propagate and look after and have a fantastic Dahlia crop. And then we do some playing with dahlias. I've got one more wedding, which I'm doing with one of my students. Really, so that I can make a YouTube clip, because it's at Downside Abbey, which is a really wonderful venue, which hasn't really done weddings before, so it's a really nice sort of new step for me. And I'm going to Wisley, RHS Wisley. So for those of you in the UK, if you're close enough for Wisley on the 30th of September, I'll be there on their Discovering Dahlia days, doing demos and chats and so on. The day before that, we have our Dahlia workshop here. It's all happening. So I'm looking at what I've got in flower. I'm cutting today. I don't normally cut on a Monday, but I've got a lovely client whose mum has just moved into the area, and so I'm cutting some welcome to your new home posies. I never cut on a Monday, so I'm just cutting, because if you're a flower farmer, it's better to do all your cutting on 1 or 2 days a week, and then you can use the rest of the week to do other things. Otherwise you get in a flap and you're constantly chasing your tail and you can't do anything. But this is a very special client, and so for her, I will cut a welcome to your new home bouquet for her mum. Actually, I'm going to do 3 posies. Anyway, enough rambling. So what have we got in the garden? Well, the cosmos is holding it together, despite the fact I've been away for the last fortnight. Also, for those of you who are new to the channel, my mum's not been very well this summer, and so I've been up and down and up and down. So the flowers it's been a real rip-rollicking ride. But I hope I'm going to be happy to see that A, the flowers are doing okay, B, it's time to clear away and make room for biennials, C, the biennials are okay. I've got 4 huge dumpy bags of Lakeland Gold compost arriving tomorrow, so the clearing, the mulching and the replanting all starts in full tomorrow. So let's see what's in the garden today. Roses, Silas Marner, and cosmos, looking very nice. Right, I'll cut some of them and then I'll take you for a little walk. just as a design thing, I'm cutting 3 posies for this client. And she's a really good client. We've been working together for years. And her mum is obviously a very much loved lady. And so I wouldn't normally do this for other people. But I'm going to make 3 posies. And because we have such a wide variety of flowers in the garden, I'm going to make 3 posies with 1 stem each of 25 varieties in the posies. And so they won't look designed. They really will look like miniature gardens. So I would not normally work like this. I would normally cut chunks of one thing, chunks of another thing, chunks of another thing, and then I'd have a really good big bouquet. But because I'm fond of this client and I'm happy that her mother is moving into the area, I'm going to do this 3-3-3 thing. So again, I'll show you the posies when I finish, but that's what I'm cutting while I'm here, just so you know. This patch of the garden is called the Pitch by Yard. All our different patches have different names, and this patch is mostly annuals and plants grown from seed during the year. You can see it's really browning off and it's time to clear. Let's go and see what's in here. Well, it's not all browning off. This is a lovely late crop of Cerinthe major purpurescens, or honeywort, which the bees absolutely love. The bees are having a sleep at the moment because they are wet, it's raining. But that little purple flower is much beloved of the bees. And this little crop has been self-sown from a crop that flowered in the spring. And because I'm a great believer in waste not, want not, I've left them there all summer. And because we've had a bit of rain in the last week or so, here it comes. Behind it are some roses that I only keep here because I sometimes have to do demos at the last minute and I kind of rush out and get myself some roses. But they're not really supposed to be here. And then moving along past the roses, we have the lovely cosmos, which has been flowering since the beginning of August. That's a plant that works hard for its living. Now, inside this mix of the red is red orac, or Atriplex rubra. But inside you can see the furry leaves, these ones here, are this year's sweet rocket. Hesperus matronalis, if you like, the Latin. So what we'll do is we'll clear the seeded stems of the Atriplex rubra and then mulch this year's first season flowering sweet rocket, and it'll come back next spring. The stems won't be as tall or as heavy as they were this year, but they'll be very useful. And here's a really great cut flower, these annual scabious. I'm ashamed to say I don't use them enough because I often have, at the same time that they flower, I have other things that flower nicely, but I think I'll have some today. And also, don't forget, you don't have to only cut the flower. Look, isn't that attractive? The developing seed head, once it's cooked, it's not so attractive in a flower arrangement, but just coming, that's rather structural and it looks like a funny grass. So I'm going to have some of those for my posies. Good for drying are these seed heads of Nigella, which are kind of dramatic and curious. They look like alien species, but they make great dried seed heads to add to things. So I'm going to cut these and use them this weekend in my wedding. Still flowering strong, Rebecca, Kufea and Monarda, all worth cutting. A nice late crop of Amivisnaga. It's a stronger headed variety than the lighter, frothier Amimajus, which we have in the spring, but really useful in the autumn. This looks very well. Sometimes it gets very yellow. It's quite a fussy plant, but Yeah, this year it's having a good year. And this gorgeous millet, I have harvested the whole of this crop before, and so this is its second flowering. Look at the colour, those tassels are really fantastic. I don't plant too much of it, but a little goes a really, really long way. Oh, no! I have a brightly coloured wedding this weekend, and what could this be? Oh, here we have the unbeatable, divine, and 7 foot tall amaranthus velvet curtains. Just say yes. The zinnias this year have loved the heat. Now, do you see these little blue flowers here? This is Nicandra physaloides, and when the flowers are over, they make really lovely seed pods, which if you leave them dry off to become golden, gorgeous golden beauties for your Christmas wreaths. This is a lovely plant to have. It can be very enormous, but we've had such a dry summer that actually it's not, and quite manageable. Oh look, a few late snaps. Oh, more amaranthus. Don't mind if I do. This is coral fountains, and I know, it is my favourite. I just love it, really love it. And then behind it is the pink, which is the ordinary amaranthus that you get from everywhere. I can't remember its proper name. It's amaranthus, something, but it's the bog standard. But oh, yes, I mean, some people really don't love them. But I mean, how to put yourself in a good mood on a Thursday morning, but just have a crop of amaranthus. Look, if I stand here, you'll see how tall they are, and see that you get an idea of the scale. Yes, I know. And then here are the velvet curtains. Look at that. That's very, very rude, really, isn't it? It looks like a something that a clown would wear in a hat at the court of some medieval king. Plenty more straw flowers to cut for drying. I do love them. They've done really well. I cut them all, and then this will be for the second cutting. And oh, haven't the zinnias liked me leaving them for a couple of weeks? I have self-sown feverfew all over the garden. Makes a great filler. And they may have fallen over in the rain, but again, the Bells of Ireland have had a great year, so I will cut all these for this weekend's wedding because they're fun and funky and quite attractive, and they may look a bit mashed up on the ground, but once I get them in my design studio, they will be fine. And then here next to them, another crop of statice. So I've got the first crop drying in the studio, and here's another crop. So while this often happens, if you stand back, little self-sown larkspur there, if you stand back from this garden, it really looks as if it's a bit dead and finished. But if you walk around and have a look at it, you find a lot. And this is only one patch. The sweet peas have very much had it, but it's time to take them out. Next week, I have a sweet pea sowing demo coming up online. So if you'd like to know more about having a successful crop of sweet peas, do book your place now. So while we walk on by, here are the crab apples, weighed down with fruit. Somebody wanted to know if they were edible, and the answer is only if you boil them up for a long time and then drain them through a net to make jelly. But still, deep inside are the biennials, which have survived the heat of the summer quite nicely, and in the next week or so we'll be planting them out. They've just been sitting here in the shade, and suddenly the cooler weather and a bit of rain, they are shooting up all over the place and looking really very happy. There you are, next year's foxgloves in a trolley. Just coming into flower now in the garden is this lovely wild aster. It's not a fancy pants one. It's a bog standard wild aster that I planted years and years ago, and it is seeding itself around and gives me a lovely crop of late season filler, which I'm always glad to see when it comes. If you're growing crab apples for fruit quantity rather than colour for decoration, I do recommend to you this gorgeous John Downey. Look at the size of those fruits. I'll give you my finger for scale. There you go. And they're very, very good for crabapple jelly. Not so brilliant for cutting because the fruit is far down the stem and not at the tip. So I tend to leave it, but I might, if I have time, make some crabapple jelly. And imagine my joy. Coming around the corner, I've not seen my dahlias for over a fortnight, and we've had some quite heavy rain and quite a lot of excitement, and they could have all been dead or smashed by the weather. Instead, oh, it's okay. Look, aren't they astonishing? So this weekend, so I'm making posies now, and then I've got a wedding this weekend. I think we're going to be okay for stock, don't you? And a ball. I think we'll be all right. Don't panic. They really are. I'm not making it up. They really are the most giving of plants. Look. I mean, they just give and give and give and give and give some more. I love them with a kind of a pathetic, kind of weird, overwhelming. They make my... I mean, I really, honestly, I'm quite weird about my dahlias. But really, for good reason. Joy. I have got, I know, sell, but I have got Dahlia workshops coming up. So you can come on the online workshop. I'm talking about growing dahlias to look like these. And at the farm workshop, I expect my lovely friend and colleague Nick will put the links to all of these in the blurb to this clip. But there's a workshop here at the farm on the 29th of September. And then I'm taking and we'll be cutting and arranging and looking at them and having a nice time with them. And then on the 30th of September, I'm at Wisley and I will be bringing some with me. So have a look at the Wisley, if you're in the area. Wisley's having a Discovering Dahlias Day, and I've got my day here, and then there's the online workshop. I don't know which to focus in on because I love them so much. Look at the backs of them. Look at the structure. This is Cafe au Lait Royale. And right royally gorgeous she is too. And here is Cafe au Lait herself, but she's shrunk. Ha 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 ha. And come on my workshops and I'll tell you how I managed to make a small-headed Cafe au Lait dahlia. Yes, it's all about just working. Work it. Here's Tartan. Oh, I love her. Being munched by a bee who also loves her. Look, she's gone over here now. Lunchtime. So here are 3 stems each of 13 varieties, 3 kinds of dahlias. I cut some sweet peas, I found some good ones, and I'll show you how I'll use them. Let's go and get another 12. This patch is called the Lady Smock, and it's mostly perennials and shrubs, most of the roses. And let's go and see what we can find here. The roses just go on and on. This one is Woollerton Old Hall, which I'm growing in a bed as a shrub, and it's throwing these lovely long stems, which are very useful for floral design. This rose is Bonica, and she's more what I would call a workhorse. And she flowers and flowers and flowers from June till October, November time without really taking a break. She's not very highly scented, but my goodness, she's useful. Still plenty of hydrangea limelight, I've got some drying, I've been cutting them, and still they come. They're beginning to look autumnal, but I'm not complaining. Here's the apple mint after a cutback, the pineapple mint still cutting, and the chocolate mint also still cutting. Mint is a lovely fresh scent in arrangements. I need to cut all these echinacea heads for autumn arrangements, but there are still a few really nice ones for floristry. As a gardener, I'm very pleased with this combination of cornus, it's a variegated cornus, and I think it's called Cornus variegatum. It's very bog standard, and in between them I planted Physocarpus darts gold, and after years growing together they've sort of knitted together and it's rather attractive. There's some of that. I do love Physocarpus. Here's Diablo, devilish gorgeous. Achillea is really, really useful in floristry. It can cause an allergic reaction on your skin if you get the sun on the sap on your skin, so do be careful when you're cutting it. Mine just seeds itself all over the place, and I use it opportunistically. This lovely late season Persicaria is really, really useful for both foliage but also the dinky little flowers. In late season bouquets, these flowers really sing in wedding bouquets. The Veronicastrum had a good cutback, and look, it's going to flower again. And my favourite penstemon humming with bees. And at last, my favourite grass, perennial grass, which I got from Knoll Gardens years ago, and I can't remember what it's called, is flowering. It normally flowers from the end of July, but I think it went on strike because of the hot weather. Anyway, here it is at last. Just gorgeous, velvety movement in its tassels. Right, so 25 times 3, 75 stems. Let's make the posies. 3 jars, a bag, a nice card. I've ribboned the jars. Now, some people think that ribbon around the jars is unutterably naff. But personally, I think it's quite pretty, especially for an elderly lady moving into her new home. I think a ribbon is pretty. Anyway, if they don't like them, they can take them off. Right. The thing about making posies when it's one of each thing is it's quite quick, because you literally work through the buckets and pick out one of each thing. Let's start with the gorgeous penstemon. No, I'm not going to film. I always think I'm going to film the whole process, but it'll take too long. It won't take very long in real life. It'll take like 5 minutes. But 5 minutes in a film this long is too long. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to turn you off and show you when I've finished. I'm literally going round and taking 1, 2, 3, 4, and it doesn't really matter the order I go in, because they will settle like they do in a garden. Flowers and arrangements, especially garden flowers, will just find a space for themselves and settle in. And sometimes when you start off, they argue, they look as if they're having a fight, but just ignore them, because after a while, a bit like putting children next door to each other in the classroom, they realise they're not going to be moved, and so they just shuffle about. And stop whinging. Okay, I'll show you when I've finished. Right, here's the first one. Sweet, aren't they? So that's 25 different stems, different material, 3 different kinds of dahlias, 3 kinds of roses, amaranth, a random stem of larkspur, sedum, grasses, little aster, scabious, mint, cerinthe, my beloved ding of red. Just think about colour. The thing is, these are essentially pale pink, lilac and white flowers, but that would be very, very boring. And so I've used this very creamy Woollerton Old Hall, which in this mix looks almost yellow. And this spurt of bright red really lifts the mix and brings it to life. And even the coral fountain amaranthus, you can be very matchy, but if you're very matchy, often colours disappear. Anyway, that's the first one. And lecture over. I have strong feelings about colour, and sometimes people say my flowers are too colourful for their own good in a rather disapproving voice. Those are the ones who don't like the ribbons either. Anyway, what do I get? Oh God, I'm really rambling today. Anyway, enough. Right, 3 sweet little posies, and they're about the right size for an elderly lady's bedroom, and they can be arranged wherever there's space. They won't be an enormous thing in the way, but look, here's an idea. So they are dinky and separate, but if I stuff the bag with paper to keep them upright, and then I tuck them in the bag, and it looks like a great big enormous bouquet. But actually, that's 3 jam jar posies in one bag. So there's real wow factor when they arrive, but they're easy to separate. Now I must write a little card. And there we have it. Oh, tea cake. Look. How's that for a housewarming present? But it's 3 posies, ready. My dog barks and my camera's falling forward. It's very low grade, this. Anyway, it looks like a really enormous bouquet, but in real life, it's 3 posies, which in a little old lady's new living quarters will, I hope, give great pleasure, but not get in the way. There we are. If you've enjoyed this clip, please do subscribe to the channel. Press the bell icon and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. And if any of the tips and tricks I've given you along the way have been useful, you can always buy me a coffee. The blurb is in all the link is in the blurb to all my clips. And that, my friends, is September at Common Farm Flowers. Next up, garlanding for a wedding. And then I'm back up at Mum's, so we might have a look at her potting shed, but we'll see if she's brave enough to walk around the garden. And then next week, I'm off to West Dean. And then I've got a flower farm career change workshop here. Anyway, just never a dull moment. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you soon.